Hey guys, Tomboy61, and today we're going to be taking a look at the best ships used in the upcoming 1v1 ranked season for Tier 4. Now, if you got to participate in Tier 3 1v1 ranked, I had a blast in it, and I think it's been my favorite season of ranked so far, mainly because it was all up to you. You didn't have to rely on teammates, and as someone who plays solo 98% of the time in this game, I'm much prefer relying on just myself as opposed to having to rely on teammates. No offense to all of you. But one thing I did figure out or kind of learn in this opening season of Ranked was just how important torpedoes will be. Initially, I wasn't thinking that they would be as important, but half of my kills came from torpedoes, half of them came from guns, which tells me you're going to have to focus on various kinds of ships, and you're going to have to learn how to play and be very kind of adaptable to the situation. So I went ahead and made a list of the ships I think are going to be the best tech tree, and then the best premium ship for destroyers, cruisers, and battleships. So first things first ship on the list, the best tech tree destroyer I think to bring in is going to be Farragut. Farragut is going to be excellent in close quarters. As we saw, the map size in these 1v1 arenas are very small. Farragut will dominate in that close quarters. You have 5 torpedo tubes, which means on each launcher, which means if you come up against a cruiser, assuming you can land those torpedo tubes in close quarters, you are going to dev strike them. It is going to produce good results for you, and you're somewhat maneuverable. It's overall just kind of the best choice all around, and you don't really have to worry about other destroyers having sonar yet. I think next week I'll start to kind of transition away from the American destroyers in these ranked matches, but for right now, none of the other destroyers have sonar, so I think Farragut is kind of the way to go. So that's the tech tree. Now let's go on to the premium, and I know what you're thinking. You're like, Tommy, we know it's going to be the Kamikaze because everyone's going to want to use the Kamikaze next week, and I say no. I'm going to suggest running the Scirocco. Now, of course, I know a ton of you will run the Kamikaze. I just think it won't have the guns to really hold out up against any other destroyer or any other cruiser once that cruiser gets close. And I know what you're saying, but Kamikaze can hide so well. Yes, but it's such a small area, and the capture points are so large, they're going to force the engagement with you, and you're not going to have an option. So, Scirocco is what I'm picking. Now, I'm picking Scirocco, 1, because it is a fast, maneuverable destroyer. 2, it has decent torps. And 3, it has that reload booster. And remember, with that reload booster, they kind of gave you an I win button in a 1v1 fight. And that's all well and good and balanced in a French cruiser or in a French destroyer when you're only removing 1 of the 9 people on the enemy team. But at 1v1, that being able to pump up your DPM with your guns, I think is going to be the ticket and going to win you a good number of engagements. And then you also have the ability to kind of disengage and use your guns, or use your torpedoes as well. And the torpedoes reload relatively quickly. So I think overall, I think Scirocco will be a surprisingly all-rounder threat when it comes to 1v1ing in the ranked season. Next, let's go ahead and move on to cruisers. And that leads us to the Konigsberg as the tech tree cruiser that I recommend, and one that I'm probably going to actually use for the majority of the season. I think this ship is going to be a powerhouse, and that's for a couple of reasons. 1, it has the longest range sonar at the tier, 5.6 kilometers, compared to the mid-3s for every other cruiser at the tier, which means, 1, when you go up against destroyers and they panic smoke, you are going to be able to spot them pretty much anywhere on these tiny maps. Additionally, the guns really serviceable as far as reload time and penetration power. They are excellent. Then you combine that with the amazing torp angles on this cruiser. It's going to be great. Now, the downside to this ship, I do think the guns, as far as their firing angles, are a bit wonky because they kind of have that offset turrets in the back, which means it has better firing angles from one side than the other. And if you want to engage those rear guns, you're going to have to show some skirt, which means you're going to get hit. So, like, you do have to kind of balance all of that, but I think Konigsberg is going to be a dangerous ship as far as tech tree cruisers go, and that's why that's my pick. Now, as far as the premium cruiser, I'm going to recommend a ship I didn't think I'd ever recommend, but when you look at the kind of premium offerings at Tier 4, there's not a lot of great ones, which is why I'm actually going to recommend Murmansk. Now, I know what you're saying, Tommy, Murmansk, it's the steel ship and you hated it. Absolutely. But it has some incredible rudder shift speed, and it has torpedoes, and it has the majority of guns on its bow, which means if you get hooked up, if you fight a destroyer, you're going to have a decent time. You have sonar. It's great all around in those kind of senses, and I think it is a surprisingly decent ship. Would I recommend blowing your steel right now to get it? No. I think for the amount of steel you'll end up earning for getting to top place, I don't think it's worth burning that steel to get Murmansk. I think Marblehead would do just as well. Omaha, not so much because it doesn't have the torps, and as we talked about, torps are very, very important in this game mode, and you just need them to be able to effectively engage the enemies, and you know, Omaha just doesn't have them. So Murmansk, or if you don't have Murmansk, Marblehead, I think is a solid choice overall as far as a Tier 4 premium. Next, let's move on to battleships, and I have to say, guys, I do not recommend battleships for this upcoming season. I really don't. The number of people that are going to be using Kamikaze is going to be stupid. You're going to get matched up against them, and you're going to hate your life. Now, this last time of Arena, I really didn't get matched up against too many other ships of not my class. So I don't know what's going on there. But if that randomness doesn't continue, if that randomness ends up being in the way where I'm matched up against what is my hard counter, and I'm in a battleship and I keep getting matched against destroyers, and the majority of the time I feel like people are going to run Kamikaze, you are going to hate your life in a battleship. So what are the two battleships that I am recommending? The first, the premium one, is the Texas. I think she is a fantastic overall ship. She has a good range on secondaries. When you build her out for a little bit of a secondary build, you can get 6 kilometers on those secondaries. Really solid overall guns, decent maneuverability for the tier, tons of guns so that if you are up against a destroyer, you can load that HE, have plenty of shells with plenty of DPM and alpha to be able to wipe a destroyer before it torpedoes you. Like, I think Texas is the way to go when it comes to playing a premium battleship. And then the tech tree, I'm gonna cheat here. Also, premium, I know a lot of you are probably saying Julius Caesar. I do like Julius Caesar for this. I just think Texas will be a little bit better when you're not having to 1v1 people. And then our tech tree ship, gonna cheat a little because it's not technically in the tech tree yet, but Cavor. And I know what you're saying. You're saying, Tommy, this week you said it's probably one of the worst battleships at the tier. And that's absolutely right. For standard battles, Cavor is absolutely terrible. But I think it could have a special place in 1v1, and hear me out here. 1, it has the most guns of any tier 4 battleship, which, hello, massive alpha strike that you'll want to delete enemy destroyers. 2, it has SAP secondaries, and they absolutely tear people apart. Like, that's what you need for this 1v1, right? If you're stuck with a cruiser or a battleship, you want those SAP secondaries to tear them apart, and a destroyer, it will tear them apart. You also have plenty of guns, of main guns, to do so. So I think in a 1v1 scenario, Cavor may just have that secret little sauce that makes it a special kind of player in this. But yeah, guys, those are my recommendations. Once again, Farragut, Scirocco, Murmansk, Konigsberg, Texas, and Cavor. What do you guys think? What will you be using in this upcoming season of Arena? Let me know down in the comments below. And as always, guys, I hope you liked this video. If you did, go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and have a fantastic rest of your day. See ya.